Starting out. So you're reviewing Fedora, and you're like, what, love, hate, good, bad.
I like a lot of stuff about it. I'm loving GNOME 3 more and more. I'm definitely going to end up using a distro with GNOME 3 no matter what, because I like GNOME 3. There's a lot of good things about it, and I'm learning more and more about it, and it gets really good. Fedora, however, their package manager is no better than the package manager that's in Ubuntu 8.10, and the repositories are smaller, and they don't have the right thing. When you install stuff, it doesn't always work. I installed Skype, and it didn't work at first until I had to Google and look up how to fix it, and I had to add repositories and install random applications. And then, it's...
So Fedora's using RPM still, right?
Yeah. The main thing is just, if you don't use Debian-based package management, and you really, you have to activate all packages that run in the repositories, you take for granted how good Debian's package management system is. It's really good. RPM, at least Fedora's package management system, I can't say about open.
I take offense to that because I use an RPM distro, but whenever there's like interrelated packages, it knows. Oh, you're installing this. I better uninstall this and go install all of these because you're going to need those to run. It takes care of all the interdependencies.
I think I've seen PC Lin's package management system, at least, and how you install it in Software Manager, and I think it does look better, but Fedora's sucks. It does have a lot of cutting-edge stuff, but it's not stable. It crashes a lot. I've gotten 2 kernel panics, which I have never gotten before. And I was not able to, fix them. A lot of freezes, but it's pretty darn fast as far as using it, and that may be GNOME 3, and that may be Fedora. But it's fast.
I'm going to say some of that's probably Fedora, because I know Fedora makes a great server OS, but as a server OS, it's not intended to be an end-user system. It's just intended to be fast and run server stuff.
But no, when I'm opening up applications, I'm actually surprised on how quickly they open it. It's very fast. So it is love and hate, but the only thing I really like about it is the fact that GNOME 3 works very well with it, and it's very integrated, and that's kind of obvious since Red Hat pretty much made GNOME
3. Yeah, I'm going to have to take your word for that, being a not GNOME person. And I'm still going to call it GNOME, because that's what it is.
I know, but it's been switching back and forth, It used to be that when people spoke in big presentations, the big guys, they called it GNOME. And now I'm hearing, some of the top people call it GNOME.
I think it's because there's this whole, you're saying it wrong thing, so it's become like the cool people know it's GNOME. And I was like, whatever, it's GNOME, GNOME, but you know what?
Anyway, what I've noticed is that maybe it's just because I'm new to using GNOME 3, but I've been using it for a while now, and if you use it for a while and you really multitask as fast as I do, switch windows a lot, have a lot of tabs and stuff like that, all the dramatic effects that it makes every time you switch something kind of gives you a headache.
Can you turn them off like you can customize? Because, isn't that just using parts of Compiz? Can't you just customize?
It doesn't use Compiz. It uses something else. It uses Mutter, I believe. But I don't think you could turn it off because the windows getting smaller and allowing you to select them is a central part of how GNOME shell works.
This is my big problem with the direction they're going over there. It's like if it was customizable, it wouldn't be a big deal. But it's like, okay, this little thing's driving me nuts.
Yeah, and it does kind of drive me nuts. It's not slower. I could work very fast with it, but it gets annoying. I don't need to have a whole screen change and a bunch of effects every time I change the window. It's kind of annoying. Are you recording, by the way?
Yeah, I started when I said, okay, let me turn the recording on. It's like...
Yeah. So,
Just so you know, okay, just so everybody knows, this time the audio is not my fault. I have put James on the good machine, but he is using Google, and for some reason it's being weird. Like, your audio is not what it usually is. I have no idea why.
It may be because I'm using Fedora. I'm not sure. I've noticed that when I listen to sounds and stuff, it doesn't quite sound as good, and I think that's because, for instance, when I started using it, I couldn't use MP3s, and that would be fine, because normally when I'm using Debian, if I can't, I try to click on an MP3 file and it says, oh, I don't have the codec for this, let me search for the codec in the repositories. Found the codec, I'll install it. Fedora did the same thing, except it didn't find the codec. And so I looked up and found out that Fedora does not hold in its repositories anything to view MP3s because it's non-free. So...
so it's the free software people over there.
So what as opposed to Debian, which you could actually choose if you would like to include any non-free software in your repository. And I've talked to Richard Stallman about that, and he says that the only reason that he doesn't suggest Debian is because the average person doesn't know what free software is. If you know what free software is, then he's actually fine with you using Debian if you filter yourself. Which surprised me when I asked him about it. Anyway, but yeah, so I had to search and go through a long process, and apparently everyone who uses Fedora does this to set it up, but it's not for me.
This is one of the things. You can call me evil and so or whatever, and there are open source people who will go, well, you just don't understand. You're perpetuating the proprietarization. There's certain things, the MP3 is evil because it's not purely open source. We need Ganesh instead of Flash. And there are certain things like this. I'm just, you know what? I'm all for open. I'm all for setting software free. I'm all for getting rid of the bullshit that is the crap anybody in the IT industry has to deal with. But there comes a line between pushing an agenda and just making mountains out of molehills, and the MP3 is honestly one of those.
I would prefer if they did it how Debian does it, was to give you a choice where you could. It's easily installable, in the repos, just like Flash. But if you choose to use only free stuff, you could do that, and it won't install anything non-free, no matter what, even if it depends on it. Rather than Fedora, where you have to go through steps to install untrusted repositories and all this stuff to have use of your system in the real world.
Well, and I'm a little touchy on the whole MP3 open everything, because the reality is that's also an issue in HTML5, because some of the pure open browsers won't support MP3 but will support OGG, and it's one of those, it makes more work for me. I'm like,
I'm honestly fine with them wanting to push free software and even not including it into their repositories, but it should be automatic, just like in Debian. When you try to do something that violates that, it should say, this is not free software. If you would like to enable this, click this. That's what I would prefer. I'm fine with them pushing it. I have nothing against them wanting
No, I'm fine with pushing it. It's just you shouldn't make a mountain out of the molehill. Yeah. Like you say, it's out there, it's easy to get,
In short, I like Fedora. It does have a lot of cutting-edge stuff. It's nice. It's nice to use. I could definitely use it, but I could not make it my main machine. Could not make it my production machine. Honestly, as far as, stability concerns, I find Arch a lot more stable.
I honestly don't know how Arch handles this particular problem, because I haven't used Arch enough. Arch does it like Debian, where it says you can just go get it, right?
Well, in Arch, nothing is automatic. Everything is do-it-yourself. But they don't make it hard on you. They make it very easy. I don't think that Flash comes in the repository, but it's easily installable, I think, via the AUR. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know because I used Arch and it was very easy to get Flash working. I didn't have to go through any hoops, but it might not have been in the main repositories. It might have been through the AUR. And honestly, the AUR is my favorite thing about Arch. The fact that, you have all this software or it's trusted into a repository, as long as, you're willing to take a little bit of risk if you don't trust the person making it, you could get a lot of software. I mean, compared it huge amounts. I don't know.
Well, and there's this mentality in Linux that if it's not in your repo, not in the repo equals bad. But really, it's not any more risky than Windows and OS 10. You're installing from a possibly not trusted source. Use your best judgment, and if you screw up, understand you may have to reinstall.
But yeah, Arch, it takes, of course, a whole day to install and configure correctly. Unlike any other of the normal distros where you could install it quickly. But the thing with Arch is when you do it like that, and this is part of their philosophy, when you do it like that, if something suddenly goes wrong, you can backtrack a few steps and realize, okay, maybe I should do it this way, and then get your system working correctly, rather than if it's already all pre-configured for you, maybe something might not work perfectly for your system, it's...
Well, no. See, that's the thing. Art is a great geek system, but it's one of the reasons we don't talk about it over here that much, because I would never classify it as a novice end user system. It's great for somebody who wants to sit down and spend a weekend learning a lot about Linux, and just getting familiar with some things they probably wouldn't otherwise. But it's not the give this to your grandma or mom OS.
Definitely, yeah. But as far as Fedora, my final thing is that it's great for seeing cutting edge stuff. Don't make it your production machine.
Yeah, I keep hoping one of these days Fedora is going to move closer into the end user arena, but they
have been pushing to go into the end user arena, because I've been seeing their website, and one of the things they say in their website is how they're all stable and it's great for using it.
I know they're pushing for that, but like you're saying, these are the things you expect from an end user ready distro, and they don't have those things. At least not yet.
I mean, it is fast. It says free your desktop with Fedora. Fedora is fast, stable, and powerful operating system for everyday use for everyday use. And it is fast. It is powerful.
It is powerful, not so stable.
Not so stable and not so everyday use. Because everyday use, I'm sorry, probably will include MP3s and probably will include Flash. If you're talking about everyday use.
It's while we're on that, Sean, how does it handle DVDs?
Oh, I haven't tried DVDs.
Okay.
No,
more often than not, I found the ones that are hung up on MP3s get a little hung up on that DVD decoding, and it's like... Because it is a proprietary format.
I'm sure it would be hung up on that. And as we, we're working with before, the reason why we're using, I don't know if the viewers can see, but we're using Google's Talk thing for video chat. And the reason is because I can't get Skype working correctly on Fedora. It'll work. That's the thing. It'll work fine. The video will work, and about 30 seconds into it, sometimes 2 minutes into it, it'll just stop and cut off. The sound and recording microphone keeps working, but the video cuts off.
Yeah, there's this little gray box in the corner where we can't, I don't really, let me see. Yeah, I can't get rid of that. Or is there a way to get rid of that? Let's see.
I think that's just to change the perspective.
No, it's, here, there it goes. Dude. No, it was supposed to be the camera from me, which you don't see. So it's a gray box saying it's like, hi, no camera. because we're doing a video call and it won't show me just you. And there, I got rid of it. It's like,
all right. So let's open the Google Doc. I might. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So do you have the doc?
I have the doc. Oh, did I not add you to it?
Yeah, you did.
No, you're in here. Do I need to re-add you?
Oh, hold on. All right. Yes, I see it.
There you are.
Oh, well, actually, this works fine. If you just saw my message, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
It just said, you are now viewing. Ding-a-ding.
All right. Sure. $5 for every HTC Android phone, and I heard that they make more than
Yes. Yeah. Microsoft is making more money off of Android than their own mobile OS.
Yes, they're making more than Windows Phone 7.
Yeah. That's funny in two ways. It's funny in the wow. It's funny in the okay. So they've lost, but they're getting stronger by losing. And it's funny in the sad way that HTC settled with them, and they've set a precedent that Microsoft is now using to go after everybody else.
Well, HTC can't compete with Microsoft.
Well, and you know, it's like this seems to be becoming the mantra. You know, gang up on HTC because they don't own a lot of patents. Kind of force them to settle. And watch my Tweedledee co-host walk off. But the other thing here is, I'm honestly wondering, to be perfectly honest in all of this, HTC is paying $5, and it's looking like if some things that should happen don't, they're going to be asking for more money with each person they go up. You know, their next run of suits, their target settlement is $750 to $1,250, and then their next run of suits, who knows what they'll be asking. You know, but it's, and this is going to be interesting. But what I'm honestly wondering in all of this is, where the devil is Google? I mean, it's obvious why nobody's suing Google, because if they sue Google, Google has enough money to go, you know what, we'll see in court. You know, and it'll be a case of just mad, because Google has
Speaking of that, you like Samsung's reaction to the Apple suit?
Which one?
Where they're like, so Apple sued them because their products look too much like Apple's, and so
of course they do. Samsung makes Apple stuff.
Right, and so and Samsung said, okay, if you don't want our products to look like yours, you know, simply we're going to have to be able to see the next generation iPhone and iPad. That way we can make sure that we don't make ours like that.
Brilliant. I like that answer. That answer is perfect right there. Yeah, it's like, just give it to us 6 months before you ship it, and we'll make sure that we don't copy it. That way we know. You know, it's like. But no, well, and since you brought Apple in, you know, I honestly wish Google was reacting here more like Apple is. There's a nuisance suit going against iOS that's very much the like of what Microsoft's doing against Android here. You know, basically claiming, hi, we own bullshit patent that never should have been approved. Therefore, you owe us money for using this thing. In the case of Apple, it's the checkout thing. And Apple has responded by saying, okay, we're joining the suit. I would honestly like to see Google, every time one of these Android carriers gets sued by Microsoft, come in and go, okay, Google is now behind you. We are going to help you fight Microsoft to help protect the Android platform. It makes sense. But Google's not doing it. Google's just sitting back and letting bullshit happen and leaving these people on their own. I mean, have you looked at some of these patents Microsoft is claiming?
Yeah. I don't like 99% of patents.
You definitely won't like these. You know, Here, let's see. What do we have here? One of the patents, remote retrieval and display management of electronic document with incorporated images. What computer on earth doesn't violate this? A browser remotely retrieves electronic documents from a remote computer network for viewing by users. For enhancing responses, the browser initially displays an electronic document without background image, so that electronic document is initially displayed more quickly. Doesn't that sound like every fucking browser on the planet?
Say it again, say what it is, because I'm thinking, like, it sounds like this could have been violated by, like, early, depends on what they call images. If you call an ASCII art image, this could have been violated by, old Telnet use.
I think it would have been, actually. A browser remotely retrieves electronic document from a remote computer network, so basically anything using TCP, for viewing by user. For enhanced response, the browser initially displays an electronic document without a background image.
Okay.
So, yeah, basically it loads text, then it loads the rest. It's like... this is pretty much how every browser works. This was issued in July 1998. I don't actually think this was originally owned by Microsoft, but let me verify that. This one is assigned to the Microsoft Corporation, Redmond. The inventor is John Palmer. Palmer. It appears this was originally a Microsoft patent. So this was assigned back in '98. God, it's like, and they get more absurd as you go through them. Loading status in hypermedia browser having a limited available display area. Basically, Basically, the patent's Microsoft's claiming, hi, does your thing load a file and display it? It violates the Microsoft patent.
Tell me, like, how the heck do they get the word limited in a patent? That's not a word. Limited can mean anything.
This one's actually in this millennium. This is January 15th, 2002. This
but, like,
is
a display area less than this amount of pixels or inches, limited display area.
Described herein as a portable computer having a limited display area. An inherent or other hypermedia browser executes on the portable computer to load and display content in a content viewing area. Basically, a frame is opened and something's loaded in it. Again, this is how GUI works. You can't have a GUI without violating this patent.
I would call the old first Apple computers a limited display area. Those things were small.
Well, yeah. What's stupid is this patent was approved this millennium. This patent was issued in 2002.
I know. Can you not patent something if it's existed before?
Actually, I know this by heart right now because I'm looking into patenting something right now, and the law literally says cannot have been available to the public for more than 1 calendar year prior to the patent. Which means, according to this patent, we did not have GUI computers prior to 2001.
Yeah.
What? I thought those started back in the 70s. Oh no, we at Microsoft invented the GUI in 2001. It's very technical. You wouldn't understand.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, and then we have child window control. This is all browser stuff. New variants of a child window are provided. Dear God. It's like, those of y'all in the show notes, I'm gonna put a link to something that has how many do they have here? They have 1, 2, 3, they have 5 patents. These are the ones Microsoft is using to go after Barnes & Noble, which is one of the people they're now suing in round 2. And it says these things are absurd. You know, I'm trying to think what device on the market today doesn't violate these rules, regardless of what platform it's using. iOS violates these rules. You know, it's a method and apparatus for capturing and rendering annotations for non-modifiable electronic content. Oh my God. Yeah. Alright, if you're storing something in a non-read-only portion, then recalling it, you have violated a Microsoft patent issued in 2005. And if you're subdividing pages, you violated another patent issued in 2005.
I'm sure Microsoft could find a patent against you eating a burrito. They have the second patents in this world.
You know what? Honestly, this more than anything, if the patent office isn't going to do their job like this, if they're going to just blatantly like this not do their job, hi, you patented the number 4? You know, I don't think anybody used the number 4 a year before now, so 4 must be new. So yes, you now own the number 4. Have fun. That's literally how insane the approval process is for patents today.
Maybe not that insane, but yes.
It's damn close to that.
A little bit of an exaggeration. I'm going to patent.
By how much? It's that editorial cartoon. Hi, I didn't do my homework because I wasn't sure that the answers I derived hadn't been patented. You know, we really are living in that world. Honestly, I would like to get an echo back through you. Honestly, I would like to see, if they're not going to do their job, the law redefined to say you have to sue the top of the totem pole before you can go do 50 billion nuisance suits. Because what generally happens here is, like, people get patents like this that in no way, shape, or form are enforceable. But they go after people who can't afford to defend themselves. You know, in the mobile arena, the first person you attack is HTC. HTC has a lot of products, has almost no patents, which means you can sue them without much fear of losing your patents. HTC doesn't have enough capital to defend themselves against it, so they'll just settle and give you money. Everybody knows that. That's why they go after HTC first. You know, once again, this is another suit against Android where they're not going after Google. It's honestly, if they really feel the Android OS violates their patents, then the first thing a judge should order. Okay, so let me see. If I understand this, your problem is that the OS that this manufacturer did not create but is using violates your patent. Okay, before you can sue them, you have to sue the people who made the OS that they're using.
That's like suing Samsung for the iPhone.
Yeah, no, it's the same case. You should have to go after the person who made it. If their problem is with Android, they need to sue Google. Once they get a judgment against Google, then they can come take over everybody who's using Google. Then they can go file all their supplemental suits and go, okay, we've now proved, but they should have to go after Google
I would
first.
Just rather these patents being thrown out, like.
Well, no, that's the other reason I want to see the law structured that way, because if they have to go after the person with the money with the vested business interest first, that means MAD takes place before all the nuisance suits. The patents that are invalid get thrown out before they get to fuck up the whole ecosystem. As opposed to the way it works now, you know, basically patents serve as the number one stopgap to innovation. And the fact that patents like this are being appealed is really the biggest threat to both innovation and open source. It's difficult to.
Well, open source has patents behind it too.
Open source has patents behind it too, but open source does not always have the greatest money behind it. And just depending on what, I mean, in the case of Android, it's not, but they're not going after Google. They're going after everybody who's using Android.
Because they're smarter than that.
Well, yeah. You know what? We should start a clock. How many years will we have nuisance lawsuits against Android before somebody actually sues Google? Because
I think it might be out. Didn't Apple try to sue Google for Android?
No, Apple sued HTC. Apple sued Samsung. Life's Good, and I think Motorola, but I can't remember who. They never sued Google.
Yeah. They tried to sue Motorola, and Motorola was able to hit back harder.
Yeah. Motorola had some things.
Motorola has more patents on phones at least than any of them put together.
Yeah. The only one who would trump Motorola on patents on phones would be Nokia. Nokia has...
problem because they're Microsoft's kid now. So.
That's the thing that's really scary here, actually, is that there's a lot of people who are suspecting what's going on with Nokia right now is Microsoft's buying them out, and it's kind of a shadow merger thing going on, in which case all of those Nokia patents are going to wind up belonging to Redmond. And Nokia has not abused those patents. Redmond will in a heartbeat. Hi, we invented voice. If you're talking, we own it. Oh, you know.
Right. I think that I might have to go soon.
Okay, I guess we'll have to wrap this one up early. The only one I know that has actually sued Google directly has been Oracle. Oracle did it, and this one other little patent troll company in Texas sued.
And as I hear, the Oracle one's not going good.
No, the Oracle one's fallen apart. There is one suit that had validity. I can't remember. It's like Brick something. But they weren't just suing Google, and they weren't suing Android. They were suing Google, Yahoo, AOL, basically anybody who's using Linux servers. They're going, hey, we have this patent that never should have been issued, but technically Linux servers violate it. So they're suing them all. Google realizes the threat this is to the sign, and since Google was actually sued, Google is appealing the decision. Basically, Google's going to spend whatever money it takes to prove, hey, this patent's bullshit. It's patenting something that existed for a decade before the patent was issued, not just a year. You know, which you can't do.
Which is it sucks how costly it is to do that stuff. How much money is wasted on patents.
Well, no, it's like, and it's the hindrance to innovation. Basically, there's certain industries you can't get into, and if they're riddled with patent trolls like this, you better have $100 million in the bank, preferably $2 or $3 billion. To just fight bullshit. Hey, yes, I'd like to move the industry forward, but these people with 20-year-old shit want to hold it back. And by the way, their patent never should have been issued in the first place. You know what? We should figure out a petition and what legislator we need to send it to get reform in the patent office. This has been a short Linux since James has to go when we don't have time, but we've hoped you've enjoyed the absurdity with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or is it Tweedledee and Tweedledummer? I don't know. It's
a short one, but we didn't have Jordan, so we'll be able to do a better one next time. And I think this was pretty good for it.
We've said about all we can on this because these are just the two main stories here. But if you want to read more on these, click the links in the show below because I actually like the one that's here because it explains these in common sense English and it gives reference to the actual patent so you can read the longese of it. This will really make you go, how the hell does Redmond own this?
Right.
Okay.
A relatively short show, at least compared to what we normally put out for once.
Yep. Peace out.